Hockey, yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
Indeed, it is Judd's Hockey Show. Middle of the off season, nothing going on for Judd and AJ, but of course, Jessi Pierce, there is no time off because there's always a story to write for your employers at NHL.com and or to talk about on your podcast, which is the great Bardown Beauties. So check that out. But I came up with an idea for today's show, kids, because Judd, Sports Dad, is trying to think content. We need content, and we need hockey content. So let's go with this. 3 way too early wild predictions for the season. Now Jessi has an advantage because she was there last week for the developmental camp. So she was around the players and coaches. Age and I weren't, but that does not mean that we can't make up semi-plausible beliefs. But if that's cool with you kids, I want to do 3 way too early wild predictions for 2024-25, Jessi Pierce.
Okay. I'm going to kick it off with one that's kind of easy, but also not terrible. The Minnesota Wild are going to miss the playoffs once again this year. They finished 6th last year with 87 points. Nashville was the cutoff with 99 points. I just don't see a whole lot of improvement. Yes, you can go on and on about the injuries holding them back. But I think, again, you're looking at teams in the Central. You're looking at teams in the West that have also improved, as always. I think it's going to be one more year of missed playoffs for the Minnesota Wild. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be the pessimist. It's just the reality of where Minnesota is at, right? I'm just looking at it.
But that's not a bad thing.
Right? It's just looking at the numbers on paper. Again, 87 points, which they were lucky to get to 87, I think, considering, again, all the challenges and hurdles thrown their way. There hasn't been enough changed even in the players that are on the roster in order for me to see a vision or a pathway for them to be making the playoffs. So Minnesota Wild, no playoffs this year again.
How do you think the power brokers handle that? Because I agree with you and Age, and to me, it's the last year of being in some form of cap hell. I agree they didn't have moves or they didn't make moves, and I don't know that they could have. It's not like they didn't want to, they just couldn't. Mm-hmm. So, but from ownership on down, Craig is impatient. Billy is competitive as hell. John Hines, I don't know yet. I don't know where he stands. But from being around this team a ton, Jessi, how do you think they take that? I think I'm okay. You're okay. And Age is okay. But are they okay with the reality of this situation?
No, of course not. Because as I've mentioned before, half the league makes the playoffs. So it's a little bit of an embarrassment when you don't. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be cream de la crop, but you have to be good enough to get there. And it's the state of hockey. I mean, no doubt about it. They can sense the fans' frustrations, right? You understand that you want to be in the playoffs. You want to be a team playing at least into April, a little bit into May, right? I mean, you want that. You want that competitive. And you have enough guys on this team that are competitive. If I'm being totally honest, sometimes it kind of feels like you've got some players that maybe shift back into neutral and be like, okay. I mean, but give credit where it's due. You look at what the Wild did last year and the push that they continued to make, even when they were down to a 0.1% of being in the playoffs, they continued to perform. So I think that's the mentality of a professional athlete. So I don't think it's by any means a comfort for them. I just, again, think it's the reality of what they're looking at. As you mentioned, Judd, the cap, there's limited scoring depth. This roster is no different from last year. Again, even healthy aside, it's too much of the same for me to have that belief that they're going to improve dramatically enough to gain another 10 points in the year. And I hope I'm wrong. Guys. I do, but that's my prediction.
But if they go in the first round again, I don't know. I hope you're wrong. If you're going to assure me of a playoff run, 2 rounds, right? Or win a first round, I might be like, oh, that's fun. That's cool. But if this is just going to be the same crap that we've seen since 2015 or 16, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not really upset. Provided you do then improve your team age and be where you should be going into 2025-26.
Yeah, and it's what Jessi said was it's not people are going to think that's being negative about the team. I don't think it is. It's not the worst thing at all if they do miss the playoffs, but it matters how they miss the playoffs. Are you playing the same old tired legs and you're trying to lean on the same old horse? Good and point. Finally it's like, we got to bring this thing to market? No. If you can miss the playoffs, but you see these younger guys getting more ice time and they're developing and you're showing some promise, you're showing Kirill Kaprizov, hey, we have these pieces in place. And I know that's a big talking point of Will he, he wants to win now, obviously. He's in a position in his career where he wants to win. The team isn't, though. But they can be soon if they start doing it a certain way, and that's where it starts this season, where you don't need to claw yourself in by the likes of Matt Zuccarello and Marcus Foligno carrying you there. Right. It's Liam Ogren needs time. Aaron Husnadinov needs time. Marco Rossi, Matt Boldy needs to step up and continue. I say step up, but frankly, when you look at his stats, like he's been progressing each and every season through his first 3 seasons of his career. So it's about how you miss the playoffs if you're going to. But I don't think that's negative in any sense, Jessi.
Mm-hmm.
Naysayer.
Good.
Doubter. All right, Age, you're next.
Speaking of Matthew Boldy, my prediction is that he will, in his 4th season in the NHL, average at least 1 point per game that he plays. He's been increasingly getting better every season. He had 39 points in 47 games his rookie year. Second year, he had 63 and 81, 69 and 75 this past season. And I think the turning point, and Judd and I were there the first game back after he dropped a stinker down in Chicago, where something happened behind the scenes. Somebody had a talk with him of that nature, but there was a noticeable, he was more engaged. Something clicked, and it seemed like he kind of like took a step in not only his play, but maturity, where the effort was there for each and every shift. We don't see, we hadn't seen him since that point really take a lot of time off. Like, sure, you're not going to be impactful every single shift that you're on the ice, but more often than not, when he was on the ice, you noticed him. He brought his presence after that Chicago game and kind of had a talking to afterwards. So I think something has clicked. I think he's going to take another big step this year. I think if he plays, 79 and some change, full 82, he's going to have a point per every game. I think Matt Boldy is going to rise to the occasion, probably take another big step this year in his career.
I'd agree. One of my predictions actually was along the lines of just that. I will save it, but thanks, Age, for stealing it. No, I think Matt Boldy, you got to remember, he's only 23, right? And he's really been thrust into this situation of being a core piece of the Minnesota Wild's future. And I think he's lived up to that. I think he recognized last year, he would even tell you it wasn't his greatest performance. There were so many downs. And I mean, Matt Boldy in 2 years has been very roller coaster up and down. But I think you're right. I think he finds a level of consistency this next season. I'm excited. I mean, he has to really, because again, that's what you're paying him to do. 49 sheets. He's getting paid the money to be that guy. And I think he recognizes that. And again, I think Bill Guerin and John Hines have put all of that faith into him. So it's really a matter of him taking it by the reins and then finding some consistency on the lines, right? I mean, that's always going to go a long way. Not having Marcus Johansson to his left might help, but I mean, it'll be interesting to see what that pairing looks like.
Do we think that they will break up lines? So I'm not saying, it's not going to be an entire season. Guys struggle, guys get hurt, lines get broken up. But do we in essence think that by the end of the season, when we look at time on ice together, do we think Boldy and Kaprizov have played together more than any other wingers have?
I just did my projected lineup for my team reset. Go check it out on NHL.com and I'll give you a peek. I have Johansson, Ek, and Boldy together for at least the start. I don't
want to look at it.
I know. I'm sorry. But I have Marco Rossi as a top line centerman. Huh? How do you like them apples?
Well,
I put Zuccarello and Kaprizov back together too.
Don't Boldy and Kaprizov need to play together?
I think so, but the problem is like there was zero depth. So if you have some other guys step up, I think, Judd, then you don't need to. But for Matt Zuccarello's career, yes, he absolutely needs to play with Kirill Kaprizov. But when it comes to, do the Wild need them to be together? Matthew Boldy, Kirill Kaprizov? It depends on if there's anybody that can actually be on that second line who's going to be productive. And that's not Marco Rossi like dropping down and then having.
Can be. Let him
I think
do
so
it.
too.
I'm not. Zuccarello.
So your top line, Judd, would it be Kaprizov, Ek, and Boldy?
Or Rossi, but probably I'd start with Ek there.
Okay.
But here's my problem, and Zuccarello addressed this last year, and he says, and I think he addressed it at the end of the season, and he's going to say this until he's done playing. He's like, I know I have to shoot more, right? I pass too much. I know I have to shoot more. He's not going to change.
No.
And when you've got Kaprizov, Zuccarello, and look, there's some nice plays, but Zuccarello's need to be the Gretzky into the Curry of I'll feed you. And then what also bugs me is Kaprizov gets into whoa, look at me, I'll pass it to you. They're the pass happy twins. And with Boldy, I think they'll just shoot. And they'll make some nice plays. I mean, I think on the power play, the Zuccarello-Kaprizov idea is fine because you've got the man advantage and you can make some nice plays. Yeah. I think as a general thing, though, Matt Zuccarello played a very important role, in my opinion, in Kaprizov's breaking into this league. But I don't need him, especially as he's aging out, show me how well he can pass the puck. I know he can pass the puck. He does it to the point of passing up shots. I just like the idea of Boldy and Kaprizov way more. And then the center can, if Rossi develops, like if he continues and I like him, he can be that guy. Mm-hmm. I just want it to be I just think Boldy, Kaprizov give you the best chance as your first line wingers. Just my own opinion.
That's fair. Interesting. I like Eck and Boldy together. I will say that. Like, I don't care. Yeah. I guess less sometimes concerned because the problem, going back to it, this team has no secondary scoring. There is no scoring depth. Like my bottom six, I'll just read them off to you. We got Foligno, Husnudinov, and Hartman on your third line. Jacob Lauko, Freddie Gaudreau, and Jaakko Trenanen for your fourth. That's my projected lineup for the start of the season. Yuck. Like, yuck. I don't know who's score. I mean, I don't see a whole lot of goals.
You have
right?
Ogren on the opening night? Oh, see, I think he needs to be a top six guy. I think
but you got Lauko. Who are you taking? Are you taking Freddie out?
Yes.
Oh yeah. But
without a doubt.
If Johansson doesn't have a training camp that I approve of, he's sitting between us in the press box.
Yeah.
And Gaudreau, same thing. I mean, Johansson, I would say, Marcus, we will make an example of you at the first thing that you do wrong because of the crap that you pulled. I think if Ogren doesn't start the season as a top six guy, I think what AJ just said becomes a real problem, which is now you're going to be trying to milk the veterans because they've got all these no move clauses. I don't disagree with your predictions, Jess, but
it's not what I want.
Right, exactly. So I think you might be right, but I don't like it if you're right.
Yeah, I know. Me neither.
So, and yes, Gaudreau. In fact, my first prediction was exactly that. Freddie Gaudreau will be a healthy scratch on opening night. I think they're going to come to the realization that it's not worth trying to make this work. They've got other guys. I mean, in your combinations, Jessi, especially bottom six, I can name about 3 guys I would scratch at the drop of a hat. Well, actually, starting with your second line, Johansson as well. Gaudreau. I mean, I'm sorry. Lauko? Is that?
Lauko. I forgot he was on the team, to be completely honest, when I was putting this together, and I was like, oh yeah, that guy.
And he's just sort of an excess. We traded for him. That's fine. Yeah. And against a tough team, he can play. But I mean, I have no problem. But I think Gaudreau, and we still don't know who's going to get the Blue Jackets job, right? Dean is still up for that job. Mm-hmm. So perhaps Dean gets that job. Freddie goes there. But I predict he will be an opening night scratch because I just don't see how trying to run all of these old cars that are broken down out there is a good idea for this franchise.
Yeah, I'd agree. For some reason, it just feels like Billy has this connection. I almost feel like he remembers himself as the player that he was, where he got moved around and all of this. And I think he's always trying to be like, I don't want to do that. It's crazy though, because it is. You do. I agree. I would love to see Freddie in the press box. I would love to see Liam Ogren get the shot that he deserves, right? I'd love to see Riley Heidt get the shot that he deserves coming out of camp too, if he has a great camp.
It's a great one.
I just think there's this loyalty for whatever reason to your Marcus Johanssons and your Freddie Gaudreaus. Billy keeps calling them out as the guys that need to do more, and Ryan Hartman as well, even though Hartman had over 20 goals last year, one of the 5 that had more than 20 goals last year. Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. I think sometimes Billy's too close to it, and it's like you need to remove that, cut that arm off sometimes. Just cutthroat. I'd be cutthroat as hell. I'd be like, hey, I'm really sorry. Here, some HR will work out the details.
Yes.
All right, Moneyball.
I know.
No, you're right. That's what
Call this
Drury is
Monday, though.
doing with the Rangers.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, I know folks are upset, but my God, at some point in time, you can't just like a guy and I mean, I would start with you are not getting a no trade, no move clause unless your name is Kirill Kaprizov. I mean, Boldy, perhaps. Like if you're an upper echelon guy and you're important to my future, then we can definitely talk. But this bottom feeder list of which we're doing this with now, and it's not a wild thing, it's a league thing, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, Jessi, what's your next bold, way too early prediction?
Well, I will piggyback off of AJ there. As I'd mentioned, I had a Matt Boldy one. A little bit different. I said he's going to be a 30 goal, maybe even a 40 goal scorer this year. It lends itself to what Age was saying with a point per game. He was one shy of 30 last year with 29 and 40 assists in 75 games. So heck of a season. He had 31 goals the year before in 81 games. I think it's there. I think the one difference for him, and we touched on it already, his shooting percentage went up, but his shot output went down from the season before. 227 shots last year compared to 255 the year before. So I think if he gets that mentality back, they're going to start to go in because, as I mentioned, his shooting percentage went up a smidge, 12.8 from 12.2 the year prior. So I think Bowles is going to be 30 goals, which we need desperately on this team. You need somebody to break that threshold that's not named Kirill Kaprizov.
Okay.
So as long as he's gunning for the back of the net, I think it'll be a good thing. Not that I don't love seeing him get his assists and sauce him up,
I'm with
but
you.
yeah, he needs to
Bury
be
the
a
puck.
goal scorer. Yeah. So that's my second prediction.
Well, and if that's correct too, what you brought up before coming to an end would be delightful, which is the roller coaster of Matt Boldy's career, right?
Yes.
Like if you can just stabilize it, and he doesn't have to be a star, but on off nights, he needs to be good. Like there's no reason for him ever not to be good, Age. And so like that's to go back to that Blackhawks game, I think, coming out of the
Yeah, you got
break.
nailed that.
Well, and he should have been scratched the next game. I mean, he no-showed the game. It was a noticeable, pathetic effort. Like that's what cannot happen. He can have off nights, he can make mistakes, but you got to show up. So I like this, and I think that this actually has at least 30 goals has a legit chance of happening.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. My next one, I think that there is somebody currently on the Minnesota Wild roster that has some sort of no move, no trade that will be willing to waive said no move or trade before the end of the season. I think there's going to be, and this is going to be easy to say right now when there's 0 injuries, you don't need a body to fill out a spot on the fourth line, but I think there's going to be somebody that doesn't like the amount of ice time they're getting, or there's going to be a conversation behind closed doors that say, hey, your time here is done. Whether you're still technically with us or not, we have officially moved on, but we would like to give you the opportunity to go play somewhere else. And we have a few suitors who are willing to give us pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, drop it.
Take your choice. Take your choice. Whether that's a Freddie Gaudreau, whether that's a Marcus Johansson, whether that's maybe at the trade deadline, maybe they're not in a position. Matt Zuccarello wants to.
Zuccarello. I was going to say on the count of 3, we should all say it. We should all say it.
Yep.
One,
I tried to do it last year.
At that point, think about if they're not in a spot. Last year, like sneakily, he had a good, productive season for what you kind of would expect of Matt Zuccarello. And a team is going to want that if he keeps it up for another half season here. At that point, you're looking at closing out this coming season and then 1 year left with the Minnesota Wild on his contract. He's sub $5 million. Maybe the Wild have to eat a little bit. I would prefer them not to, but they will have money coming off the books with that dead cap for the Parise Suter buyout, so they probably could in hindsight. It feels like that would be a match that is like just so right there for you that if a team is willing to do some sort of offer, some sort of deal, I think Matt Zuccarello might be willing to say, you know what? Yes, I would love to go back to the Rangers. Yes, I would love to go somewhere out east, or maybe the bright lights out in LA and pair up with my old friend Kevin Fiala. Maybe be on the wing of Quinton Byfield or something. I think somebody will waive a no move clause, no trade clause here this coming year for the Wild.
That was going to be one of them. I cut it because I didn't know if it was too reckless, because I was going to go very specific and be like, Matt Zuccarello will move his no wave. Because it was speculated and rumored that was discussed right at trade deadline going back to the Rangers. He loved the Rangers and the Rangers loved him. And the Rangers are in a good position. I mean, Matt Zuccarello, you can talk about his brother Kirill and, the tightness, everyone no, but he wants to win. And he's a guy that I think he's at the point in his career where he knows that that's a very small window closing up. I mean, Joe Pavelski retiring this year, one of the greatest to ever play the game that has never won a Stanley Cup, right? So it's like I could see Zuki chasing that cup more than anything. I mean, yes, he has the extension, but yeah, I think Bill Guerin he's the one that I could see saying, yes. I think Freddie Gaudreau or Marcus Johansson would say no, because they know that their ice time is going to be even cut shorter anywhere else, frankly.
Yeah. Right. No, I love this and Matt should chase a cup. He definitely should. And I mean, what better place than to go back to the Garden? I mean, fans in that city, the team, to what Jessi said, the Rangers love him. It makes perfect sense. Go chase a cup. I mean, you're close to the end. And I will say this, at least Pavelski chased it. He did chase the cup. He didn't get it, which is too bad, but he chased it. But I mean, I'm sorry. If you're Mats Zuccarello and you're here, you're not chasing it at all right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to go in with and so I love this idea. I think this is great. I said last year, can you imagine plug that guy into the Bruins, for instance, last year, right? I mean, he might play third line. I don't care. He's going to help him. But I think this is a great idea. Yes.
And the emotional stuff in terms of we're not trading you because we just don't want you. You're taking up a spot.
We'll get him something.
Now it's, hey, we're explaining it to everybody. It's better for PR. We're trying. Help us help you, Mats. Help us help you.
Johansson and Gaudreau would be, you're just trying to shed them for almost nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Zuccarello at the deadline would get you something. So
what do you do with that salary though? Because remember, you signed him to his extension.
Yeah.
Are you paying that? Do you have to eat that? Or are you going to try to split it somewhere, eat a chunk of it? Because then it's not terrible.
I would eat a chunk for a better return.
Right.
Because I mean, if you eat a chunk of the salary, you're going to get more back.
Yep.
Because if I split it, it's not terrible. Mm-hmm. If I don't eat a chunk, the return will be good, but it will not be great. I think if you eat a chunk and he goes to a team that's chasing a cup and can use him, that's a fairly attractive offer.
I think so. I mean, he did. He had a quietly good season last year, and Minnesota has squeezed every little bit they could out of Matt Zuccarello, right? Which I think has been tremendous. So yeah, I agree.
And Kirill, you know what? Kirill, he's got at least a Russian or two now, right? In the room with him. I know he and Mats were tight, but Kirill's going to grow up here too.
Find new friends.
Well, he's an adult. No offense, if you can't make a friend at this point in your life, a new friend, you can do that, Kirill.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Okay, my next prediction: Philip Gustafsson will be traded before Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
He'll be traded before Thanksgiving, and here's why. With where this team is going, I continue to say this. Marc-Andre Fleury in his last year and Jesper Wallstedt playing here makes perfect sense to me. Because what better guy to learn from, right? The Flower, Hall of Famer, as far as I can tell, I mean, seems like the greatest guy on the face of the earth. And I think it's genuine. I don't think it's crap. I think he's genuinely a great guy and mentor and almost a coach. He can still play, he's not done. But I think if you go into the season with Gustafsson and a team gets a goaltender hurt, which inevitably happens, I'm not saying you're going to break the bank. I'm not saying you're going to get a ton back, but I think you could get a return, perhaps draft picks. And I think if you have Gustafsson here, Wallstedt either goes back down, which I think is a bad idea when Fleury's here, because I really love the idea of those two pairing up, and Wallstedt learning from Fleury. You have three goaltenders, and that, as we know, is just too much. So I'm saying go into the season, see how things go. If Wallstedt is terrible and has to go down, that gives you that opportunity for a look-see. But when a goaltender gets hurt now, which I think is the next time a goaltender gets traded, you have the ability, if things are going well, to say, I got your guy for you. And he can play. He might not be great, but he can certainly play. Thought a lot about this.
I mean, you're trying to manifest this, I feel like, right? This is
I want the mentor. I want the student. You talk about
Judd.
like Zuki being, it's time for him to go.
Yeah.
I think he did a lot of good in Kirill's early years. I think it helped a lot. Father, son, mentor, student mentor. I'm trying to manifest this as, I think one of the main reasons to have Fleury back is for him to pass the torch, and it's not going to be to Gus.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't see it happening either. I mean,
you can
we do know how
Tell me I'm wrong.
we do
Tell me
know
I'm
how
wrong.
Billy loves to make moves in November, right?
Yep.
Because usually the team's off to a crappy start, so he needs to do something to shake it
It's
up.
got no
And he's
personality.
just- yeah, right.
He goes and gets a goon, and it's like this. I'll change.
That's exactly what I'm saying, though. You're not gonna get Ryan Reeves back here for this goalie. Like, I don't know what you're doing with that.
Draft pick?
Maybe hopeful.
Draft picks. I mean, I take draft picks back. I just think 3 goaltenders up is too many.
Yeah.
But if Volstead is prepared to play, I think you need to play him here. I don't know if another year in the minors does him a lot of good at this point in his life.
No, and like I said, the sense I got just from them having 6 goalies at
Is a great
development
point.
camp last week is they're going to carry 3 next year. Like that's the sense I got as they were getting a look at who their goalies for Iowa were, and knowing that Jesper would probably be up. But crazier things have happened.
Well,
I just
Billy
think
likes
there's
to make-
nobody that wants him. But you're right. Somebody gets hurt. Someone goes down and they're looking for a capable goalie. I just think nobody wants Gus.
Well, I don't disagree with you right now, but you know what? November 6th, a reverse VH goes wrong. Some of the meat tears off the bone there. Goaltender out for months. Now you need a goaltender. I'm with you right now. Like it became very clear that the market for goaltending was depressed as we saw guys get jobs in July. But I think and I'm not talking about like you're not going to get a ton back.
Yeah.
I just don't know if Volsted's going to be here. I do not want him in the press box. And 3 goaltenders, as good a guy as Flower is, I think that's just asking a lot of 3 people who need to play.
And Gus has no protection, right?
Correct. Somebody who
Exactly.
didn't get trade protection. I believe it's back to Jessi for your third and final.
Is it back to me? All right, my third and final. See, I'm ending it on an even more positive note, you guys, because I've heard you all in the comments screaming that we're negative. We're not. We're just normal
You read the
people.
comments of this thing?
Well, sometimes they're really nice. Like Jessi looks really pretty today. Like, thank you, appreciate that.
I'm
So those
glad
are the
that you
ones I
approve
like.
of that.
Yeah,
I-
the
I-
nice ones I like.
I never get that about me. So
I know. Anytime, compliment the boys too, guys.
Yeah,
No,
you don't get the hair comments.
my next one, Jules Eriksson is going to finish as a Selke finalist next year. Now he finished 10th in voting this year, 65 points. Obviously, Alexander Barkov won, but I think it also extends itself to there's another level of Jules that we're going to see this year. We saw some tremendous play out of him last year. We know how important he is. He had 30 goals last season. I think he probably gets another 30 this year, if not more. I would love to see that.
Wow.
I just think he's in the zone, right? Like, I think he's really hit his stride. I think he's another piece of that core, obviously, that Bill Guerin wants to see continue to exceed. And I think he's going to do that. So I think people are going to start recognizing more on a national level. They're going to pay attention to little Minnesota and say, hey, that Jules Eriksson guy, he's more than just a face. Not a great face, but a face. He can get in the dirty areas. Yeah,
Because he plays
exactly.
so hard.
Exactly. But I love
You
it.
got
I
the
think
cut lip.
you're going to recognize that, right? That's exactly the type of player a Selke winner should
I like
be.
this one.
So that's
I
what
like
I'm
this
going
one.
with.
Now, my question is, as far as the actual winner of the award, is Barkov going to take the Bergeron mantle
go all
now
Bergeron
and
on
win
it.
it like 5 consecutive years? But I
Mhm.
do think that Eck could very much be and
Yeah.
should be in that mix. That's a great prediction.
Yeah. So that's it.
I would love that, and I love that prediction. I just think namesake, unfortunately, because I've seen some people share their ballots after the NHL awards, and they're like, "Here was my ballot," and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they didn't have the runaway number 1 favorite for the award. Like, sometimes the voters are just stupid, So sometimes they're
Brock
just
Faber 5th in the Calder.
mind blowing. Like,
The
we need
Calder
to
thing was
we need to have all of these ballots publicized because I need to
They
know.
do publicize them now, I think, Age.
No, but I want to know who exactly voted for whom.
I think they put that out now.
No, I think
No?
most media members take it upon themselves because they want to hold
Oh, I thought
themselves
they put it
accountable for it.
Yeah.
But I think
They'll
that's
show, like, the
something
final
that
totals,
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Oh,
you get
okay.
the totals of where the votes went, but you don't know who voted for what. And I believe actually the PWH, whatever, professional writer, hockey writers, whatever.
Yeah.
I think they're
PWHA.
trying to change that, but then they're worried because we all know how social media can be mean and attacking, right? But
If
I
you
think,
can't,
yeah,
if you
you
can't
can't defend
your
your selections. Yeah.
then you shouldn't be voting to begin with. But and that's my only fear here is like finalist. I think sure. I think that's like a 50-50, but I think there's no chance just because if Alexander Barkov is still breathing and has a pulse, I think he probably gets the most votes. But
And he is great.
He is so good.
There's,
Yeah.
there's
he
no
is
reason he
fantastic.
shouldn't win it either. Yeah.
Right.
Judd kind of hijacked this one from me earlier, but I'm still gonna just go with it.
Go ahead. That's fine.
I saved it till last because I thought it was going to be the boldest one. Jesper Wallstedt will start more games for the Minnesota Wild than Philip Gustafsson this season. And I'm similar to what Judd said. I'm speaking this into existence because I simply want it to happen. It's not like Jesse's lines where I'm going with what I think is going to happen. I'm saying what exactly I want. And that's for Jesper Wallstedt to be in a tandem with Marc-Andre Fleury. Whether that's even if they run 3 goalies, I kind of believe that based on what we've seen, Gustafsson, he starts so slow out of the box. Like if you were watching the Kentucky Derby, they're already in the backstretch and he's still trying to like stumble out of the gate. It's really impressive how long it takes this guy to get warmed up every season. But Gustafsson, he's going to get kind of cast aside. Wallstedt might just need to get a little hot, and all of a sudden, that's you play the hot hand with the goalie. You ride the guy that is performing as much as you can, and we've seen them say that back-to-back years now with both Gustafsson having some hot stretches, Fleury having some hot stretches at times, and it's like, well, you got to rest one of them. No, they want to win games. And I think Wallstedt, once he does get a chance, he's going to show he does belong in the NHL. He does belong to be probably a number one guy, maybe not fully like I'm taking the bulk of the work this year, but you are passing the torch, like Judd said, from Marc-Andre Fleury to Jesper Wallstedt, and whether it's Gustafsson in the press box, whether it's him getting traded at some point when some goalie inevitably goes down. And I did just look, he has a 5-team no trade list next year. So
Gus does.
yes. So in
you gotta jump
2025,
that. Yeah, that's
there's
fine.
5. What 5 teams do you think is making his list? But yeah, so, and if under 4, I mean, it seems like a very easy deal to make up as soon as a team feels a little needy in the goaltender department.
Yes. Yeah, I buy that. And I just think unless he proves that he's not prepared, which I think will not be the case, I think that Wallstedt is almost in an ideal position to play. Because if you realistically, to go back to Jesse's first prediction, look at where this team is probably trending, and you've got Fleury, like he doesn't have to stand on his head with the thought of, oh my God, can he take us to the finals? Because that's the expectation. I like the goaltending controversy.
So that's what I was going to ask, though. All right, let's just say
Let's play hypothetical.
Jesper and Marc-Andre next year. Is this a true 1A, 1B situation, or are you thrusting Jesper into the role that Gus couldn't play, which is he eats the lion's share, he's the starter, and Marc-Andre's the backup?
I think you'd probably go 1A, 1B to start the year, and then once you acclimate more to him being at that professional level and say, hey, all right, now we've reached, the new year. We've reached the all-star break. From here on out, this is your show. And now we're going to go 60-40. And if you feel comfortable like that, maybe we take a little bit more. Because Marc-Andre Fleury is old. We have to remember
He's old.
that.
Yeah.
He's
He's
old.
old. He's in really good shape, but he does keep himself in super shape, right, Jessi?
I blacked out. I was screaming at the children. What did you ask?
How do you scream at him? Your mouth barely moves.
I know that's what I do. If you see me itching my nose or like doing this, I'm
that's when you're
screaming.
Like how loud
1
can you
minute.
scream like
Pretty
that
good.
though?
Pretty good. Trust me. They're outside now. You can't hear them now, can you? What was the question?
Good. That's
I know.
impressive. Hold on. I don't think we should ignore the fact.
Thank you.
No, that's
So like, do you consider at times sticking them outside and locking the door? Because
I
Dawn's
almost did
mom
because I gave
used to
them
do
a whole
that.
bunch of water balloons. Like that's what I was going to do, and then they kindly asked, and I was like, "That's fine, as long as you know that mommy's working and doing this." And they were like, "Yes." Of course, ma'am. And no, of course not. So
That's impressive, though. I
ass
like this
whoopings
move.
more
I've
down
never,
here.
never
I
thought
know.
about this. Wow, you're like Herb Brooks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Again.
Trying.
Again.
I
Who do
know.
you play for?
Good God. Kids are gonna get it.
Send 'em.
What was your question though?
About Flower.
Fleury's
He's
fitness.
old, but he's in fantastic condition. I'm saying he can
Yeah.
still play.
I think he could. And I mean, again, he's got that mentality and that competitiveness that will just push him past his limits. But he's even admitted his October starts are not great. Like he told us when
Oh,
everybody was hounding all of them, he's like, I'm not good in October either. So, which isn't great, not exciting. If we don't have a goalie that knows how to play in October, probably not going to bode well for a team that can't score either. But yeah, I just don't want to keep putting that load on Marc-Andre Fleury either. I think, like,
Oh,
I
don't
want to
disagree.
see
Yeah.
somebody else do it.
Yeah.
So
I just don't need Gus to be the guy anymore. I'm good on the Gus
No.
bus.
yeah,
He can
we'll
leave
find out.
town.
But they're going to be on the road for so much that first month, guys. We can't blame them.
true.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, no, it's the road. The Wild had a rough road. It wasn't their fault. Nothing has been their fault forever. Here's my last prediction. First round selection, Zeev Bouillon will sign with the Wild after his collegiate season this year or this season. Denver.
Does he-
When Denver gets done, he signs, and I think he might play. And I think
Oh,
he plays for sure in 25-26.
Like full on roster spot.
Full on roster spot, yes.
So you're saying they sign him and burn that first year?
Yes, and I think they give him experience. I mean, they've got some guys at the bottom of the defense that can join me and Jessi. And Age, if you choose to come out to games, you too.
We'll get cozy.
But here's my long view on this one too. We still don't know, and we have to see how Jared Spurgeon responds. He is a small man coming back from 2 surgeries, neither of which are like great places on your body to have repaired if you're a hockey player. Like I think we are like as fans, well, of course he'll come back, and he'll be the old, we don't know that. Think about the number of games he's played at his size and the style that you have to play.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's done, but I'm also not saying that I'm going to predict that he's just going to come back and be himself. Bouillon's a young player, has a lot of really good skills. And the leaving a kid in college thing is always a weird thing because, yes, it helps the development process, but there's also things that you want the player to work on that the college, in this case, David Carl isn't, he's going to have a different idea of things. So there is an advantage to getting a guy in-house as well. So that's my prediction. Might be way off base, but I wouldn't be surprised.
David
I think
Carl's a
it all-
USA hockey guy, though. Bill Guerin, John Hines, they all
I
got
know.
that same mentality. It's funny because people were getting upset at me last week on Bardown Beauties because I'd mentioned I think Zeev is probably another 2 or 3 years away, and I stand by that though. I think, but I'm such a romantic for college hockey. Now it's hard because Zeev already won the championship, right? Like he doesn't need to keep going and chasing after it. But I want him to stay in college hockey. I agree with you. Jared Spurgeon's my one hinge. If Spurge decides to be done sooner than we think, I think that makes a huge difference. Because again, Bill Guerin signed Zach Bogosian for a reason. They re-upped on Declan Chisholm. So it's like you still have those bottom 6. Like John Merrill will be gone after next year. So maybe.
And is Bogosian going to play? Like how long is he going to continue to play?
I can't remember what his contract was. 2 years? 3 years?
Yeah.
I don't have cap
let's
friendly anymore, so can't look anything up.
Capital friendly.
Capital friendly.
According to Puckpedia, he's got this season, next season at $1.25 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not bad. So he could be the new John Merrill and sit up in the press box.
Exactly.
If you have Zeev.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. They're so patient with players. It's been a while since I've seen a guy sign that young from college and go in and make an impact for the Wild, right? Because Brock was older. Brock wasn't a young kid.
Brock was an old
signing.
man.
Yeah. So that's right. That's my one holdup. I don't hate it. I do love it. I'm going to pay better attention to him than I did at the Frozen Four, even because I didn't get to watch too much Denver Pioneers hockey this year. But
Absolutely. And yeah, I just think that his skill set sounds like a transferable skill set as long as he can keep up with the speed, which I would imagine, he's at the point nearing where he can. So, the Spurgeon thing to me is a really interesting talker because we just assume he's fine, but, and they're like, well, he's fine now, but it's like, okay, let's see it. Because if his play drops off, it's going to drop off big. because he's too small a guy. Like you can't, Bogosian his play can drop off, but he's still just Zach Bogosian. His goal is to kick your ass. Jared Spurgeon can't be like, I'm positioned well. Well, that's great, dude, but you're too small to, you can't go kick people's butts in the corner. So anyway, just a wild thought.
Yeah, my only thing would be how his physicality kind of ramps up this next year, because going from college hockey to this, and that's, I think you could argue, like, his worst aspect of his game is, like, the puck moving is amazing. He can quarterback power play. He's great. He does play a 200-foot game, but the physicality is, like, that'd be such a big jump where I wouldn't want him to, like, be working on it. It's like, oh, yeah, it's coming along, and then, season wraps up. You just get out there, and all of a sudden you're trying to stop, Sasha Barkov coming down the wing, or you're trying to stop whoever else, even Nick Foligno
Just a
is
bulldozer.
charging right at you. So, yeah, exactly. So that's my one thing, but I feel like that is something that, to Jesse's point, David Carl, Bill Guerin, they know each other. John Hines, they know each other. They're probably talking immediately after the pick, like, here's what we want him to focus on. Here's where we want him to grow, and what's the plan in place. And from what I've read and heard, Zeev seems like a guy that's, like, very committed to, he recognizes what he's weak at, and he really wants to work to get better at him. So how quickly can he make that jump in the next college year?
Did you read Jessi Pierce's story on NHL.com on Friday about Zeev Williams? Is that what you're suggesting people go read? I would too.
Absolutely. I read Scoggins' column. I'm sorry. I did not read your story.
Come on.
Well, Scoggins had the whole columm on his family and how his mom and dad turned into hockey parents.
Yeah.
Very, very touching stuff. It was good stuff, but
Chip.
I don't know. You guys are probably right, but a young defenseman that can run a power play and moves the puck like that kid does really intrigues me.
I mean, he would help the scoring production too, because he's a very, very offensive-minded defenseman. So I do love that aspect of his game. Again, it's all about goals next year.
But he cares about defense, right? Like
does,
that's the thing. He actually cares about defense. So it's not like Kalen was, where it's like,
right.
Are you going to play any defense, Addison? He's like, not today. I'll just go to the Sharks and hang out on the beach in San Jose. All right, you guys, great stuff. Jessi, AJ, and Judd, and I think we'll come up with something, I hope, for next week. If you have any ideas, put them in the comments. Jessi will see those comments. I won't, but she can tell me, and that's all that matters. We'll talk to you later.